So I want to talk about something that is very near to my heart, which is my kids. So I'll start doing that, and hopefully everything works with the pointer. But I want to start with my story that is a very special Sunday. I love Sundays because that's no kids, school. And then imagine, my perfect Sunday. The house is clean, the vacuum cleaners, they're all working, the robots are working. Sunlight fills my room. I love tea, so I have a nice cup of tea on my hand. And my 4-year-old, so I have two boys. My 4-year-old walks in and say, "Mom, I want my snacks," he will ask. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, he loves apples. And then I'll say, oh shit, excuse me. Did I get my apple? Like, did I go to Costco? Is my Instacart deliver? I'm like thinking, like my Ryan is racing, right? And try to find the apple, and then I give one to him. And he says, oh, not that apple. I'm like, what do you mean, not that apple? And I'm so confused, right? And then I am like just standing there, and then he starts to cry. I'm thinking, what did I do? I was just trying to drink my, tea, and then you just couldn't deal with that. And then that crying went on for about 45 minutes. And then now I don't know what to do. I need to talk to the kid psychologist. My tea is cold, and my Sunday is a little bit ruined, right? So here's a funny thing. I mean, you guys kind of heard the intro. It's that I am a professional people watcher. I'm a user experience researcher. What it means is that I watch and I study, I observe how people use our products. So I worked at Google, and I led big products like Gmail, Hangouts, and so many billions of used product. And I went to WhatsApp doing the similar things. So I did that for my entire life, leading global research team to understand humans. Not just a little human, billions, millions and billions of humans. And yet, my 4-year-old totally screwed me up with an apple, right? So it feels like a tough user study, except with more screaming. So as a researcher, we are trained to be like a mirror, right? So you're collecting information, you need to know what is happening factually. And then you need to reflect what's actually happening. So you go deeper than what you see on the surface, right? So you understand what is happening, and then you look more deep into it and triangulating. And then lastly, once you have all different types of information, insights, you're synthesizing and see how you can really generate something that is meaningful, that you can make changes for your next generation of products. So when I was working at Gmail, we had a thing like, oh, people are using Gmails a lot, right? Because it's very popular, but they're using it like a digital cabinet. So people are not really engaging. This was about 6 years ago, right? And then we said, how can we make Gmails more meaningful? Okay, this is how people are using it. So we studied like how I see as a mirror. And then we looked at, okay, these are the things that people said, and these are the things that people didn't say, doing them, X-ray. And then we realized that people using Gmail like a digital cabinet, but at the end of the day, they wanted to do something more meaningful with all the content that they have. But they wanted to be assisted. So that's when actually we launched a lot of smart assistant. This was back in 2018. And then you're kind of like nudging, say, oh, didn't you get this email 3 days ago? And then kind of like engaging with the users. So that type of work is what I do for a living. And I'm very good at it. Not many people built that research team that scale. And then my first son was born. His name is Noah. I try to do the parenting in a similar way, doing a product development, right? So I said to my husband that I got all this down because I am very good at launching a product, and he's my good users. When he was hungry, I give food. When he's tired, I put him down to sleep. When he's sad, I hug him, and things work, right? So Noah is kind of like went with the flow, and I'm thinking that I optimize parenting. And who said working mom is hard? Because, I got so lucky with them. And then, my husband is saying, like, you're raising a child, not launching a product. We don't have NPS. I don't know if you heard about NPS. It's a Net Promoter Score, right? If you're using a product, you get this scary number, and then are they going to recommend to my friend? I'm like, you know what? Parenting is cool. I'm going to recommend to my friends. I'm doing a good job, right? And then, it's really interesting because it's not like that, but real humans, especially the small one, and they're headstrong ones, they don't follow script. And then gloriously messy. They don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. And then they're delightfully contracting. Like they don't know. They said this thing, but they said another thing. And then they're always surprising. So here comes my second son. Okay, he's a total game changer. All right, so very, very strong-headed ones. From the day one, he broke every rule that I ever imagined. Hungry, I give him a toast. It's not that food. It's not that food. It's like, what are you talking about? When I say cereal, he doesn't want the cereal. Yogurt, banana, nothing works with them, right? So every meal became a guessing game, right? I said, you want this, it doesn't work, and complain. And then yogurt, come on, you love the yogurt. Oh, no, not the vanilla. Today I want the strawberry, okay? So it's really interesting, even like in the morning, I'm trying to give him clothes, and I'm supposed to wait and be patient, but we're getting late, so I tell him to wear this, and it's a free dress day. And he said, oh, I don't like this shirt, I don't like this shirt. So he's like topless, he's kind of like naked running around. And they said, you know what, I don't feel like going to school. And that, I don't want to go to school, is the worst thing that I can ever hear in the morning, and a scary thing, because I want him to go to school, right? So it's some reason that my parenting strategy is falling apart, and then I just couldn't debug how to really help him. I actually asked the school, is anything that I can do? Is something that I'm missing? Is what I can do? And then, this was really challenging. I could debug user experience at WhatsApp. I streamlined our onboarding process at Google, and then I built the next tablet when I was working at Microsoft, but I just cannot figure this one out, right? And then I feel really lost and helpless with my 4-year-old boy. And then one chaotic morning, my husband handed me my favorite matcha latte, And then he said, we came to this chaos mode, and then it's okay to stay here. It's okay. It's okay, kids late for school. It's okay, they stay home. So just like calming me down. And then I feel like I was somehow not doing what I was supposed to do. I feel like a failure. And then how can I be so lost with my own child? And then desperate for answer, I went to what I know the best, which is user research. I started to observe my son very carefully. I look for patterns. We always try to understand trends, and then patterns and insights. So I'm looking for aha moment. And then it became very, very clear. What it said is different than what it meant. So there was a gap, right? So in user research, we know that I want better camera. It doesn't mean that we give them the best possible, highest megapixel. It means that people want to capture the moment as easy as possible, as quick as they can. And then they don't want to feel stupid while doing that. Remember those moments that you try to open up a camera and then that you cannot find the button, it doesn't work? You feel kind of useless because you don't want to miss the moment, right? So it's that kind of similar like that, right? And then when people said, I don't want to feel, there's too many clicks and it is too many things that I need to go through. It doesn't mean that they're not talking about the step. It means that people don't want to feel stupid or feel lost while they're doing that. So when my son said, this is not my favorite apple, it's not my favorite snack, it's not really about the apples, right? It's really deeper than what it is. So I experimented. So I'm going into my study mode. So when he said, I want my favorite meal, then I'm sitting down with them and say, would you like your favorite, the grapes that I washed with this? I'm trying to make a story. Or is that the cereal with the monkey pictures? I'm starting to really engage with them, try to ask stories, and doing that with them. And then he says, I'm hungry. And he says, then what kind of hungry? Is that adventurous hungry? Or is that the movie popcorn hungry? He loves to eat popcorns for a meal. So that's an option, right? So sometimes he actually started to listen, and sometimes he will giggle and say, that's a silly mommy. And then sometimes he says, you know what, I actually want some rice bowl with the seaweed. I like to make some fun, things with you. So it's really came to me that it's really about, he's not really telling me, or it's not like, telling me what he didn't really mean. He's just like trying to communicate with me. And then I learned that his outburst and complaints and those things often meant, Mommy, I want more attention from you. Can you surprise me? Or can you please keep me safe? So that's the things that I learned from this lesson. That real empathy isn't fixing the surface. Because, I'm a busy working mom. I try to give him something that I think that is an answer, and then I try to keep moving on, right? So that was something that I learned, and then not that apple that he meant, was really something that, can you please understand me? Let me know you care. So I've done thousands of user interviews in over 40 countries. It's very interesting culturally, and it's a very, very humbling experience going to people's home. Sometimes there's no doors that I go in and try to figure out how to even do an interview with the users. Because I worked at WhatsApp, I went to really interesting places like not just the country, India, but very interesting small towns and cities to really understand how people are using our product in the best way that I can see, not in some type of interview lab that everything is set up. So that's a lot of things that I learned, and then I think that's something that I really can relate to how I've been doing parenting, to really thinking about the user empathy. So as I mentioned, with my first son, the parenting was linear, it felt like. But my second son, it demanding something more, as I mentioned, in deeper listening and flexibility, and also the ability to handle the chaos mode and different type of mode and surprises. So not just my ears that I'm listening, but I have to listen with my heart. So one night, after a tough day, I have a long day, I work with so many different time zones, and then I sit down next to my son, almost like losing my brain, because my brain is fried, I cannot function anymore. And then he was playing with his toy, and he looked at me and say, Mommy, I love you, and he gives me a hug, right? And then I'm completely melted, like put me in a cup, I'm like, can't even control. But that moment I really thought that, it's really about the empathy, and to try to really understand what's going on with them, and then really connect in the way that is possible. And sometimes I'm not able to connect, right? But that's okay. And then one thing that I wanted to actually share as a story was, you see, when I was at WhatsApp, we are not just building a messaging app. We're actually building a way that people are connecting. And then there is a number here, 110 billion. I want to actually ask you guys a question. What do you think that the number is? 110 billion. Don't be shy. This is a women forum. Come on. We can do this. Number of users. Okay? 110 billions? I mean, the population is a little bit less than that. Okay. So you say number of chat daily. Okay. Anybody else? It's a big number, don't you think? You guys agree? It's a big number, right? So this is actually, you're correct. So that was actually a message that being sent one single day. When I worked there, so that was like 5 years ago when I saw the data, right? 110 billion messages sent a single day. And then imagine Christmas, New Year's Eve, it goes up, right? Because everybody's sending messages. And then, so this is some crazy number that I've seen. And then what's the reason that I'm saying this is that when you're building a product, you need to really understand what is the mission of this, right? And then for WhatsApp, this is actually my own words and how I actually translate it, is that we are not just a messaging app. We're actually empowering people to connect so that we can show care, we're sharing love, and then the moments that, because we want to stay connected in a very private and meaningful way. The reason that I've used the word private is WhatsApp is known for end-to-end encrypted. That's the technology they're very proud of. And then the interesting thing is for WhatsApp, when you're actually looking at the product development, the bottom part is called core experience. That is something that we do as a product that you're supposed to do really good at. If you're using Kakao, right, Katalk, you want to send a message to A to B. That's your basic function. And same for WhatsApp, right? So as a basic foundational, what is your core experience you need to deliver and without failing? But then the thing that is amazing about like products like WhatsApp is you're sending 110 billion, now it's gonna be a lot more, a day, then there's no failure, right? There's no failure. They never missed a single message. That's the beauty of the very strong, engineering stack. So they consider that as a core experience, and they're very, very proud of it. And then the next layer that you see, that is a signature experience. It's something that you differentiate yourself from other product. So for WhatsApp's case was end-to-end encryption, because not many or no messaging app is actually end-to-end encrypted by default, right? So you guys heard about Telegram as an example. Telegram is not end-to-end encrypted unless you use a secret mode, right? But WhatsApp is by default. Our motto is private, meaningful way. So they did that. So they consider as we are the differentiating ourselves because we're providing very private but very reliable platform to people. And then lastly, the one at the top is something that we call it as the wow moment. It's something that they didn't expect to have when you're buying this product, but it's delivered. So as an example, it works. I mean, how many times you guys forgot to go to airplane mode when you're on the plane and then trying to send a message? Like you're flying, right? You're flying, you're like taking off. And then interestingly for WhatsApp, even though you're kind of flying, you send messages. I mean, unless you really fly. The reason is that WhatsApp is built in a way that it has a very small, packaging done, so it actually goes faster. And then it can go when your internet connection is not stable. So that is considered as, wow, I didn't expect to send a last message to my husband to order me a Korean chicken and then beers or whatever, message there might be, right? And then it went through, and then can you imagine when you land back, this is before like Wi-Fi on the plane, like you're getting your cold beer and your favorite dish or something, because your last message sent, it's all been ready, right? So that's kind of like something that we look at when we build a product. So then the reason I'm saying that is when I'm actually doing a parenting, if exactly the point that I was making with the first child and second child, how different they are, I always felt like whatever I could do at the core experience level, as long as I do a good job as a mom to providing them safe and safe environment and loving things, I was okay. And then because I'm their mom, by differentiating, I'm your mom. So I don't have to deliver anything. That's why I always try to go by this, product principles that I've been leading in these like major companies, and then try to really apply to that. So that's why this was really interesting. And then I think that it didn't actually work, because that's the surface. And then when you actually try to look at something and try to delight your users, delight someone, and it ended up moving their hearts, because I had to move the hearts of my 4-year-old that I couldn't even communicate, So that's something that I think was very important. So I also worked at a company called Roblox. It's a gaming platform. A lot of kids love it, very popular. But at Roblox, it's not just a place that kids play a game. It's built for it's built spaces for creativity and belongings and friendship, right? And then the most successful product don't just serve the surface problem, but they really fulfilled emotional needs. So today my work is a little different. So I left the corporate world, of my 20 years of practice. So I turned VC some time ago, and then I work as part of StratMinds team, and then we actually invest in early stage AI startups. What is early stage mean is that it's not those like, OpenAI is very late stage. I'll give you an example. But early stage where they're just starting their company, they have a mission, they're solving a problem, and it is so interesting because AI is moving so fast, but yet a lot of things are still like, like as an example, like OpenAI, right? It does kind of same thing. But when you look at the early stage, you're able to taste what is happening in the world of AI in the most cutting edge way possible. So I think that's why it's been very interesting. And then, because I also advise and mentor, startup founders, and then they often ask, is a very popular question because I built a lot of products and launched, previously, is that how do we build the best AI products that people will love? So I get the questions a lot. And then how do I get to the fast market fit so that we can get a lot of users and customers? And then what are the killer use cases? I hate getting that question, like killer use cases, I mean, it's funny because everybody try to want their product to go viral and then very, very popular. So everybody's asking this question, and then they expect the answer to be some type of latest model, which model are you using, is like the best data quality and things like that. But what is really matter is very, very human. It's very deeply, deeply different than what people are saying. So great AI, I believe, is about great user experience. So at StratMinds, we believe that the winners of AI race will be determined by this great experience who's going to be putting out there. Not the latest model, not the best tech or the tech. So OpenAI, you guys heard about OpenAI, right? You guys use ChatGPT. Actually, how many people use ChatGPT daily basis? I see a lot of hands going up. But interesting that it came out it became really popular back in November 2022. But if you look at what you did and what you saw back in November 22 until now, not much has changed. It's still very wall of text. You're typing. Thing has been a lot more smarter. But from a user experience perspective, what you're doing, a lot of things are still pretty similar. So what we are saying is, the living in the world of AI, things are very, very fast and then very smart. And then the reason that ChatGPT has this like crazy wow factor is you can just ask all kinds of questions with all kinds of spelling mistake, and it kind of like gets you, and then it putting things together and gives you some insight very fast, right? So they still has the wow factor, right? However, it's going to be more interesting if it can understand you in a different type of context and different environment. As an example, like I use ChatGPT a lot, the voice, because in the States we drive a lot, the pickup and drop off, and there's so many things in my head that I put it on my GPT, changing to the voice mode, and then I start talking. Some like really cool because it's not like my assistant is always available, but this one is so smart, and it also taking a notes, and it always there for me, right? So I can kind of do the time that I want it. So I think that's something that it's a very interesting. The world of AI is that how can we really understand this? I'm talking about this company, understand human behavior, their intention, so that we can put something that very meaningfully out to you. So that's something that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, the world of AI that I see. And then obviously I don't know how many founders and startup people are here, but if you're building something, especially AI for people, the definitely the winner, because I work with a lot of founders, is the one that is gonna be try to practice the care for their customers. The people that try to really understand the people better. But AI, the world of AI, it's not just the end users gonna be humans, because AI is also talking to another AI. So there's a machine-to-machine interaction, human-to-machine interaction. Because of machine and machines talking, like human and human interaction changes, right? So there's a very interesting layers that actually they are seeing. And it's very messy. And then it also like, it's also like there's a kind of like unspoken thing happening, because a lot of things happening in the background too. And then, so that's why I'm saying that at the end of the day, when we really focus on how we can really try to understand and be very empathetic, this I think that is the winner. So, it's not easy, but people rarely say what they really need and articulate, right? So that's why I think that, my children, my children has really reshaped my worldview and then really make me become an even better researcher. Like without the special program, and then they make me a better mom and a better leader and overall better human. So they taught me the true connection that begins with the listening. Not just listening and pretending, the active listening. By the way, being present, active listening is not easy. Like truly listen. How many people in this room go to the Zoom meeting and you kind of checked out, right? Because you're not in person, you're in a Zoom meeting and you kind of went to this different tab and pretending you're listening, you know? But true listening, really be 100% there for the person, I think that is something that we can do to start practicing. And then a brave and real honest question can come out and be very, very powerful. So here's my challenge to you, or all of us, is that I want us to stay endlessly curious. I know you hear this a lot, but I think it's even more and more important because now we have access to the world of AI, right? And then practice real empathy beyond what you see. So as an example, I work with a lot of police for doing a public safety project. And then I actually was interviewing a female police officer, and I realized how heavy the belt was. And then once I realized that, I brought the belt to our development team, and I asked everybody to wear the belt and walk around for 10 hours. And then try to go into the car and come out, because that's what they do all day long, right? So try to practice the empathy just beyond what you see. And then never, ever stop asking questions that matters the most. Sometimes it's hard to ask the real question, it feels like, you know? But I think it's very important. And then, you know, I think that is very important for us to that practice. And what if our work and our product and our parenting, our leadership, because everybody here is doing your beautiful work in the world of leadership, and then our technology could really help even just the one person to make it feel better, right? So that's why I think that is very important. And at the end of the day, I believe that I'm in the business of moving the hearts of people, including my 2 sons, that I am still struggling every day, like the new Odyssey. I feel like a new Odyssey every day, right? Navigating great transition, you know? And then it's really about the winning the heart of people, including your own heart. Thank you.
네, 써먼키 파트너님께 다시 한 번 더 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.